Pakistan is making significant strides in multiple critical arenas, from regulating digital finance and tightening fiscal discipline to mounting an international diplomatic campaign in response to rising regional tensions. In a move to align with global fintech trends, Pakistan's Ministry of Finance announced the formation of a technical committee under the newly established Pakistan Crypto Council (PCC). The council, which launched in March 2025, is tasked with crafting a regulatory framework for digital and virtual assets. Headed by Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb, the meeting brought together top officials including the Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan and the Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. A key focus was creating an autonomous regulatory authority to oversee Pakistan's digital finance landscape, including a national Bitcoin wallet and strategic reserve, indicating a sovereign, non-speculative embrace of blockchain technology. Despite an ongoing ban on cryptocurrencies, the push for a legal framework reflects a shift toward responsible innovation and financial inclusion. Meanwhile, financial constraints are shaping national development priorities. Planning Minister Ahsan Iqbal revealed that Pakistan will allocate 880 billion rupees for development in the fiscal year 2025-26 out of a total 1 trillion rupees federal development budget. Emphasizing austerity measures in compliance with International Monetary Fund (IMF) stipulations, Iqbal stressed prioritization of high-impact infrastructure projects like the Diamir-Basha Dam and the N25 expressway in Balochistan. Education and connectivity remain focal points, with significant allocations proposed for IT, tertiary education, and underdeveloped regions like Gilgit-Baltistan and merged tribal areas. Iqbal also warned of Pakistan's low tax-to-GDP ratio, urging systemic reforms and citizen accountability to improve domestic resource mobilization.
ये ज़रूर माज़रत करूँगा कि इस साल जो सूरत हाल है उसके पेश नज़र हमें आपका ताउन चाहिए होगा, क्योंकि हमने तकरीबन 1000 अरब की PSDP है, जिसमें 120 अरब रुपया वज़ीर आज़म साहब की हिदायत पे N25 जो कोयटा पशीन और कराची की सड़क है उसके लिए मुख्तस किए गए हैं। और अगर हम अपनी टैक्स टू GDP रेशियो देखें तो पाकिस्तान कम्स अमंग द लोएस्ट टैक्स टू GDP रेशियो कंट्रीज। पाकिस्तान का शुमार दुनिया में सबसे कम टैक्स इकट्ठा करने वाले ममालिक में होता है।
Parallel to internal reforms, Pakistan is engaging in an assertive diplomatic campaign amid escalating rhetoric from India, following provocative statements by Indian officials about Kashmir, including a demand for Pakistan to hand over Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Islamabad rebuked what it termed hostile and irresponsible remarks.
I would again reiterate this. We have been very clear and consistent in our position. I have said this in the previous presser last week, as also on the press engagement that we had on 13th of May. Our position in regard to Pakistan, in regard to engagement with Pakistan, has been clear and consistent. You are well aware of our position that any India-Pakistan engagement has to be bilateral. At the same time, we are clear that talks and terror don't go together. On terrorism itself, we are open to discussing the handing over to India of noted terrorists whose list was given to Pakistan some years ago. I would like to underline that any bilateral discussion on Jammu and Kashmir will only be on the vacation of illegally occupied Indian territory by Pakistan, and on the Indus Water Treaty, it will remain in abeyance until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism, as the Prime Minister has said, and would like to repeat his words. Terror and talks cannot go together. Terror and trade cannot go together, and water and blood cannot flow together.
The Foreign Office emphasized Pakistan's sovereignty and reiterated that Kashmir remains a UN-mandated issue requiring peaceful resolution. To counter what Islamabad views as India's narrative dominance, a high-level Pakistani delegation, including Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and several ex-diplomats, has launched a global outreach mission. In a post on X, Bilawal said he was carrying a clear message with him.
Hi everyone, today I've reached New York City, where I'll be leading the Pakistani delegation. We'll be visiting the United Nations and speaking spoken to representatives from different countries to give Pakistan's message a message of peace. Recently, India launched an unprovoked, aggressive strike in Pakistan that killed innocent civilians. They targeted civilian infrastructure, including dams and worship places, resulting in the loss of innocent lives and the start of a war between two nuclear powers that was concluded through a ceasefire. But we believe that perpetual peace is only possible through dialogue and diplomacy. Peace is only possible if we resolve the issue of Kashmir. Peace is only possible if India doesn't weaponize water and attack the Indus River. And peace is only possible if we address the issue of terrorism together and don't use terrorism as a political tool to target Muslims within one's own country, within Indian-occupied Kashmir, or within the region. Pakistan's message is simple. We want peace, but peace through dignity and equality. We want peace, but peace through dialogue and diplomacy.
The group will visit New York, Washington, D.C., London, and Brussels to meet top UN and Western officials. Their agenda includes reinforcing Pakistan's stance on Kashmir, water rights, and regional stability while rejecting terrorism-related allegations as politically motivated. These efforts underscore Islamabad's strategy of coupling diplomacy with strategic messaging, ensuring that peace and international law remain central to South Asia's geopolitical discourse. Iran said on Monday it is still waiting for the U.S. to clarify its position on lifting sanctions, a key sticking point in efforts to resolve the long-standing nuclear dispute between the two countries. Foreign Ministry spokesperson 𝐒𝐭𝐲𝐬𝐬 told reporters in Tehran that Washington has yet to provide clear assurances on removing what he called oppressive sanctions. We must be certain the mistakes of the past won't be repeated, he added.
ما گفتیم حاضریم که اقدامات اعتمادساز، شفافساز با نظارت نهاد ذی‌ربط بین‌المللی که همون آژانس بین‌المللی انرژی اتمی باشه انجام بدیم. اون چه که مهم هست برای ما در این معادله اطمینان از خاتمه تحریم‌هایی است که در این چند دهه علیه ملت ایران اعمال شده و من متاسفم که خدمت شما عرض بکنم تا الان طرف آمریکایی در رابطه با این موضوع حاضر به شفاف سازی نشده.
The comments come after Omani Foreign Minister Syed Badr al-Basaidi delivered a U.S. proposal during a brief visit to Tehran on Saturday. Oman has been actively mediating between Iran and the Trump administration amid slow-moving negotiations. Despite 5 rounds of indirect talks, most recently in Rome, major disagreements persist, particularly over Iran's insistence on its right to enrich uranium. While some progress has been made, Tehran remains skeptical about U.S. intentions unless sanctions relief is guaranteed. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Monday described the situation in Gaza as intolerable and rapidly deteriorating, stressing the urgent need for increased humanitarian aid. Speaking to reporters during a visit to Scotland, Starmer said the humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian enclave is getting worse by the day. He emphasized that the UK is actively working with international allies to ensure aid is delivered swiftly and in significantly larger volumes. Aid needs to get in at speed and at volumes that it is not getting in at the moment, causing absolute devastation, Starmer said.
To Gaza, look, the situation is intolerable in Gaza and getting worse by the day, which is why we are working with allies to be clear in saying it's intolerable, to be absolutely clear that there needs to be a ceasefire, to be absolutely clear that humanitarian aid needs to get in at speed and at volumes that it is not getting in at the moment. It's causing absolute devastation. And of course, to continue our work to secure the release of hostages who've been held for a very, very long time. We're working closely with allies on that and we'll continue to do so.
His remarks come amid mounting international concern over the humanitarian toll of the ongoing conflict, with aid organizations warning of critical shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. Starmer's comments reflect growing pressure on Western governments to take a more proactive role in addressing the crisis. At least 3 Palestinians were killed and dozens injured by Israeli fire near a U.S.-backed aid distribution site in Rafah, Gaza, local health officials reported Monday. The Israeli military confirmed it was reviewing the incident, saying troops had fired warning shots to deter suspects about a kilometer from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation site. The GHF, supported by both the U.S. and Israel, denied casualties at or near its location. The incident follows Sunday's deadly episode near the same site, where at least 31 people were reported killed. Israel has denied firing on civilians, while the UN has called for an independent investigation. The Gaza Health Ministry reported 51 more deaths across the enclave in the past 24 hours. The aid crisis deepens as famine looms over Gaza's 2 million residents. Ceasefire talks mediated by Egypt and Qatar continue amid blame shifting between Israel and Hamas. Over 54,000 Palestinians have been killed since Israel launched its offensive in response to the October 7 Hamas attack. Peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul ended barely an hour after they began on Monday, offering limited progress beyond an agreement on a new prisoner exchange. The meeting, held at Istanbul's historic 𝐒𝐭𝐲 Palace, came a day after Ukraine launched a major drone assault on Russia's nuclear-capable bombers, inflaming tensions ahead of the talks. Though delayed by nearly 2 hours, the dialogue proceeded in a subdued atmosphere, with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan urging both sides to focus on ceasefire conditions and the potential for a presidential meeting.
Saygıdeğer katılımcılar, bugünkü toplantımızda iki ülkenin ateşkese dair koşullarını ve perspektiflerini değerlendirmeye devam etmeyi hedefliyoruz. Aynı zamanda insani mülazalarla savaş esirlerinin değişimi sürecini
Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov announced that the two sides agreed to a prisoner swap focused on the severely injured and young people. Ukraine also handed Russia a list of children it claims were forcibly deported.
We focused on those who are severely damaged, who are ill. We focus on the categories of the young people and another categories and exchanges of the bodies of the people who died.
Umerov confirmed Ukraine received Russia's peace proposal and plans to respond after review. Another round of talks is proposed for later in June. Expectations for a breakthrough remained low, as both sides hold starkly opposing positions. Kyiv insists on full sovereignty and reparations, while Moscow demands Ukrainian withdrawal from Russian-claimed regions and the abandonment of NATO ambitions. The U.S., under pressure from President Trump, has warned it may withdraw from mediating if progress stalls. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, speaking from Lithuania, emphasized humanitarian issues, especially prisoner returns, as top priorities. He has also reiterated openness to direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin under the right conditions. U.S. envoy 𝐒𝐭𝐲𝐬𝐬 and officials from Britain, France, and Germany are expected to participate at some level, although the extent of U.S. involvement remains unclear. President Trump has criticized both leaders but hinted at tough sanctions if Putin resists peace. On the battlefield, violence continues. Ukraine's drone attack, Operation Spider's Web, targeted Russian air bases, in what Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen called a justified act of self-defense. Russia responded with deadly attacks near Zaporizhzhia and Sumy, killing at least 5 and injuring several.